This morning, I think when I woke up, it came to me the what Mazu has said: the whole meaning of your life is contained in the present moment. The whole meaning of your life is contained in the present moment. And there's also a couple of other phraseology of the same basic thing, where he said, each matter you encounter constitutes the meaning of your life. And another way, somebody said, what is the essential meaning of Buddhism? Master Ma, tell me. The famous question, what is the essential meaning of Buddhism? And he said, what is the meaning of this moment? And which brought to mind Bodhidharma and the emperor saying, please, Bodhidharma, tell me the essential meaning of Buddhism. And Bodhidharma said, vast emptiness, nothing holy. And the emperor said, who is this standing before me? And Bodhidharma said, I do not know. So this is true for me, and it's true for you, that this moment is the moment we have. This is what we came for. And is beyond our knowing. I was thinking about how I got here. And I'm going to say a little bit about this, maybe the spiritual side of that, but to me, there's not really a lot of difference between spiritual and whatever else. And in fact, yeah, it's it doesn't feel easy to me to give a talk, right? A talk about something I don't know, so how do I talk from that place that's like, well, I don't know, but it's actually not hard. I sort of can't not do that, right? So it is appealing, though, to think of, I started when I was much, much younger. I was part of a sort of Hindu-based spiritual tradition. And the teacher in that tradition would bop people on the head with a peacock feather. So everybody would get in a big line and wait for hours and hours and hours and hours, literally, to go up and get bopped on the head with a peacock feather and watch what their mind did as all of that was happening. But there's a piece of me that's like, but I could just, you don't have to say anything if you bop someone on the head with a peacock feather. Or like the hugging yogi who just hugs everybody who comes. In that tradition with the bopping of the peacock feathers, somehow that's where I went on my first meditation retreat. It was in northern New York, upstate New York. And I really, for the life of me, do not remember what possessed me to think I would go on a 10-day retreat in this place I'd never been. I lived in California, was far away, and kind of weird. But I did that. Something made me do that. And I won't ever really know what that was. And so I went there, and all I wanted to do for the first 3 or 4 days was escape. Like, if it hadn't been so remote and so difficult to get away from, I'm pretty sure I would have left. And so every time we have like a Zen retreat and someone is feeling that way, I'm like, yeah, I know. I know just how that feels, and just hang in there, and something will happen, And, and that's what, for me, at that retreat, at some point, my desire to flee went away. And I was running around. Partly, they kept me so busy. Uh, I was given a job. Everybody had a job, and it involved dressing up in saris and doing all sorts of fancy, complicated things. And so there was a lot of running around and managing things. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, I realized I wasn't doing it, you know? And none of it's like the thing that was needed would just appear. And I could really see it, you know? Um, I thought, wow, that's cool. uh, you know, I appear for everything and everything appears for me. And that is the case, So you appear right now for whatever reason, for everything you encounter, you know? So don't feel bad about it, you know? You're needed because you're here. Anyway, so I went to that retreat, and I got a taste of something that maybe I'd known. Also, how Tess was talking about the boundaries and how, we build them up to protect ourselves, and we think we've got a me that I need to, keep safe and whatever, and how music is one thing that can dissolve boundaries. And in that tradition, it was a chanting tradition, and we would chant for hours and hours and hours. And that too, it's like, oh, there's magic in the world. But time went on, and I left that, and life took me different places. I met a person who became my partner, and we decided we were going to go, check out Buddhist meditation places all over the country. I visited a lot of them. Would I have done that if I hadn't met this person? I don't know. But it didn't it's just, okay, that's where life was taking me. And somehow life took me to Oakland and Jerry Brown's place, where John was giving a talk. And he was also giving Doksan. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go to Doksan. I'll see what this is like. What is this about, And that was it. Then I was part of PZI. That was called something else then, but and it was that same, the same magic that I experienced in the other thing, the same magic that's in all of our lives all the time. But it was deeper, and I learned new things. And mostly it just grabbed my heart. And so I started to find that I was devoting a lot of my time to this pursuit and trying to support this organization. And I can't really say why, right? I really don't know. I was following my heart, but inside of it, it's that you think you're picking and choosing in a big way, and it's like, no, your life is happening, right? Um, and even I guess what am I trying to say about that? It's just this you we think we're doing something for reasons, but we're part of something bigger, you know. And I have a friend who's looks at we were having a conversation recently about how people get to the end of their lives and sometimes they haven't put away enough money or something, and it's difficult. And he said, what did they think was going to happen? Why weren't they busy planning all their lives and putting enough money away? And it's a really good question on its face, right? If we're lucky enough to live a long time, we probably could use some money. But it's just not that simple, you know? For some of us, that's our path, and some of us, it isn't, you know? Um, Things just sort of pull us along. Um, and we either fight it and say it's wrong and it shouldn't be this way, or we don't and we trust it. And when we can trust what's happening, it's like I've been wanting to talk about time, and it's like suddenly there's enough time, you know? Um, there's enough time. If we're not fighting what's happening, there's enough time. Um, and sometimes it's clear and sometimes it's not. Um, in Buddhism, there's sort of a famous thing you'll see in Zen temples, and people, watch out, time is running out, you might die at any moment, so don't waste your life. Um, and that, I think it's been, okay, let me see. So what if this really is our only moment, like right now, and maybe we're not going to get a do-over for this moment. I'm not going to give another talk where I get it right. Um, this is it. Um, it's shockingly challenging to hold that perspective, at least for me. And I realized how when I think there's more, um, I get another moment to do this. I don't necessarily give it my all. I don't take chances. I think, well, I can stay safe a little bit longer. I'll really go for it in that next moment, I'll really go for it later. And that's sort of called wasting your life. So, in the one hand, there's that linear sense of time of like, you may not have as much as you think, but it's also because the only time you have is right now. And it's the only time I have. Giving a talk for me, it brings up all sorts of stuff about, I don't know what to do. I need help. I need to grab onto something. Um, I need, I'm, I need to be somebody else. So often I'll think of something and then want to see, well, what did somebody else say about that? They must have the the best way to say this. They must have the truth. And then I'm like, outside of myself. I Yeah, like the raindrops go on that we've been sitting with for this retreat. When the teacher asks, well, what is that sound outside over the fence? And the student says, the sound of raindrops. And it's not quite what the teacher was getting at. But the student's response is, well, pretty soon, like, well, what's it like for you, teacher? Right? That's not the direction. It's like, what's it really like for me is the question. What is that? What are raindrops? What am I trying to express? If the raindrops are here, what does that mean? If I'm part of the raindrops, what does that mean? Not, teacher, how is it for you? It's not that you should never ask questions. You just need to notice, what am I doing when I do that? That's practice. What am I doing? When you see somebody's beautiful words, you admire them because there's something about what you love and you can learn from them. But you don't need them to be you. You just need your words to be you and your heart. So I came across this poem that I thought I would read. Two things, when before I have these sort of pile of things. How do they all fit together? I don't know. That's for somebody outside of me to say. But two things I wanted to share that seemed to me in keeping. And one was something, I think Suzuki Roshi, Sunryo Suzuki, is really good on this thing about you are it. The expression of you is the expression of all things, and he's just really good at that. And so in the subject of time, I found one thing he was talking about, our way is not to sit to acquire something, it is to express our true nature. If you want to express yourself, your true nature, there should be some natural and appropriate way of expression. Whatever, the real part comes here. Even swaying right and left as you sit down or get up from zazen is an expression of yourself. It is not preparation for practice or relaxation after practice. It is part of the practice. So we should do it as if it were, we should not do it as if it were preparing for something else. And this should be true in your everyday life. I don't know about the should, but every moment is not actually preparing for another. It is it, right? So sitting is not our only way. Whatever you do, it should be an expression of this same deep activity. We should appreciate what we are doing. There's no preparation for something else. So when I started thinking about this thing that I do, thinking I have more time, I realized how that's turning away from what's happening, And so how do I turn towards it? And then you recognize anything you're doing. And I love the thing about how you sway when you sit down, right? Everybody has. How do you walk? How do you breathe? How do you snore? That's it. That's it. That's your expression. How do you put on your glasses? How do you forget where your phone is? How do you love your cat? Where do you see beauty? All of those things are an expression of the one, and we try somehow to think it's a good idea to hide it. All right, here comes the poem I was going to read. I am going to read. This is called Bluebird by Charles Bukowski, and this is a poem kind of about this way we try to keep our boundaries. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay in there. I'm not going to let anybody see you. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I pour whiskey on him and inhale cigarette smoke, and the whores and the bartenders and the grocery clerks never know that he's there. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay down. Do you want to mess me up? Do you want to screw up the works? You want to blow my book sales in Europe? There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too clever. I only let him out at night sometimes, when everybody's asleep. I say, I know that you're there, so don't be sad. And then I put him back. But he's singing a little in there. I haven't quite let him die. And we sleep together like that, with our secret pact. And it's nice enough to make a man weep. But I don't weep, do you? It's nice to let the bluebird out. But when you're not, then it's just sweet. That too. But there's a bluebird in it's the light. Each of you has your own light. Each of you has your own bluebird or green bird or rubber band bird, or whatever it is. Whatever it is, don't be afraid of it. It's really nice to be able to come together like this and sit in retreat and go inside and just notice, what it's like to be us. And I think it takes courage to be interested in what it's like to be you, and maybe to let the world see. And that means letting yourself see. So I guess I want to encourage that. And thank you for how much I already see it. And you already do it. So I think that's what I want to say. Thank you.